Very exciting.
It's like setting up meeting for YouTube.
You ready? We could do this? So
Oh, it's already got us going.
okay. All right. Well, welcome to our podcast, Doula Sense. I am Tia Dowling Katat. And we're so excited to have you here. We have Shannon Serrano here with us. So we're just going to be chatting about different topics, and we're excited to be um, able to come to you to give you some information about not just birth related, but about preconception and also about self care. And so we're just happy to be able to come to you and share some really great information with you. Right, Shannon?
Yes, we are. This is our first day going live, especially with using YouTube. So this is going to be really interesting. You'll have to bear with us with any technical difficulties we might encounter. Um, but we will strive to keep this highly conversational tone and to also keep it packed with information. So yeah.
This is exciting. I think we were just right before we became on live on YouTube. We were just talking about access to prenatal care, and I guess we'll just kind of continue on with that vein. And Shannon was sharing with me, and I had not seen this documentary before. What's the name of the documentary, Shannon?
Yeah, it's called the deadliest US state um, to give birth in. I think it's something like that.
Right.
And I guess I'll add it in the comments later. I'll like tag it in the comments so that you guys can see which video we're referring to. I actually shared it on my personal Facebook page. I didn't want to share it on my doula page because I know a lot of my moms, my clients, like are looking at that, and I don't want to make them anxious um, unnecessarily. I mean, that's not even the area that I serve, but it definitely is very a very scary reality to be looking at. And the video does mention towards the end that every US state needs to address the disparities that are, present in their maternal health care field. And I have to say I agree with that. Definitely some states are farther along and more progressive, but as a whole, the United States of America needs to address this issue.
Yeah, it's so interesting how um some states are doing better, faring better than other states. And one of the things I think that came up for me about this particular documentary was about how far people have to go to get prenatal care. I'm in New York City, and so I think one of the things that's going to come up time and time again is that we have very different experiences as birth doulas and dealing with postpartum. And so I think our locations are going to give us some more insight about all of these things. And I think for a birth doula, this will probably be a really great podcast for you to listen to. But getting back to my point, um, in New York City, there's plenty of places to get prenatal care. Are all of them great? Absolutely not. But no one needs to go or drive an hour and 15 minutes to find prenatal care, which is insane because I'm thinking about someone in labor, okay, and needing to get to the hospital. And how is that ride going to be for an hour and 15 minutes? I have been in the back of a Uber with my clients while they're in labor for half an hour, and it was insane, right?
Yeah.
Those rides to the hospital are crazy, but for an hour and 15 minutes, someone having to get to the hospital, or if there's some sort of emergency or complication, like how do they handle those situations? And so that is disheartening that in the United States of America, we still have these disparities that are so significant. And other countries seem to have it much more figured out, and we are still dealing with these types of issues. And where healthcare is a monetized system, if there are not enough people going to a hospital in this area, they will close up. And now there's no prenatal care for these people in that neighborhood, which is insane.
Right, right. And Tia, what really comes to mind for me is I think about how many moms I have that have precipitous labor. And for those of you who don't know,
Oh my goodness.
um, yeah, precipitous labor is labor that is like really fast and furious. And usually mom feels very intense contractions. And then before you know it, there's a baby like within an hour or even sometimes less than that. Um, and so I think about those moms, like
Yeah.
they're literally, and especially if there's some kind of a complication having a precipitous labor, that is a terrifying reality for me. Um, and then too, I'm in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. There's literally probably every mile, there's an OBGYN. You do
Right.
not have to look far for an OBGYN. There are plenty of midwives in our area, hospital-based midwives. And, hospital, like midwifery here, like there's different levels of the care that the midwife can give you. Like some offices allow the midwives to just see you in pregnancy. Some of them
Right.
allow them to see you, like help you throughout your labor. Some have like midwives working only certain times during labor. And then other hospitals or practices give their midwives more autonomy,
Right.
and the ability to work freely with their clients. And then of course we have home birth midwives, which I think we definitely need more of in our area, especially when you look at the demographics, the fact that there's definitely a high need for Black and, well, for BIPOC, midwives, period, in this area. So I think about that kind of stuff, like how much, how many choices we have here, for our moms to be able to choose whatever care provider they want that fits their different um, style of how they want things done, and their different needs, because,
Absolutely.
you know, one of the big things that people can't pick midwives for is because they might have some sort of issue in their pregnancy that doesn't enable them, to safely deliver with a home birth midwife, or that doesn't allow them to be accepted in one particular midwifery practice in a hospital or over another. And so I really come to appreciate the choices that we have here. And, this video was just another eye opener for me, the fact that we don't, like, every state doesn't have these choices. Every mom doesn't have these choices. Um, yeah, it's kind of humbling.
Yeah. I think to your point about your description of these midwives is very much similar here, because we do have hospital midwives here in New York City. But to your point, the midwives are only on during the day. They don't work overnight, so you could have midwifery care, during the day portion of your labor, but then at night that will not continue on. Um, and so I think that to your point, it's again baffling how we live in the most developed country and we still have these really bad outcomes. And I almost feel like this is because of the fact that women give birth, and if men were giving birth,
Yep.
um, it would not be a problem. You understand what I'm saying? Or if
Right, they gonna find a remedy for the man.
right, they're gonna figure this out. And my husband says that all the time. So I just feel like it's one of those things where, um, you know, people that are female or identify as female get treated very poorly, when it comes to giving birth. And so, and then of course, even worse than that are BIPOC people. Like we get like even worse treatment, and so like everybody's getting treated poorly, but like people of color are getting treated even worse. And
Right,
so it's just like can't wait for losing. We can't wait for losing when it
right.
comes to giving birth, right? So now we've talked about all of these disparities. We talked about all of the really unfortunate portions of care. But like, how do you, if you have access to a lot of different types of prenatal care, and you live in a city, or you live in the MDV, is it MDV?
The DMV.
DMV. Ooh, so just so you guys know, I will say things wrong. My husband cracks up laughing at me. He has a list of the things I say wrong, right?
I
So
see Joe back
DMV
there.
area.
Look, I see Joe on the shelf back there. Hey Joe, how you doing?
Okay. So in the DMV area, you have plenty access to care. Like, how do you figure that out? So, what would be your first suggestion, Shannon, for people when they're looking for a provider? What would be your first suggestion?
So I really, for one, recommend that people, that they look for providers before they're pregnant. But if you just happen to be in the situation where you are pregnant and then start to realize that, wow, this provider that I'm with isn't exactly what I envisioned for my labor, then to not be stuck in a place that you're comfortable and to step out of your comfort zone and just go looking for what you need for your labor experience. And that kind of goes back to the fact that we as women, when we get like our women care doctors, our GYNs, we never think about what we're going to need for our childbearing years. And
Right.
it's so important to think about that because it would be nice to have the continuity of care, but a lot of times when women get pregnant now, they realize that the doctor they've been seeing all their life is not the doctor that they want to give birth with.
Right.
And that's kind of sad. And what ends up happening is they sit in a situation that's unhealthy for them and they ignore all the red flags, asking the doctor like, what is the office episiotomy rate? What is the office cesarean rate? Those
Yeah.
sorts of things. And then not only that, but kind of discussing your vision with your doctor and seeing how they react to that, not just the nod you off or like not really having time to listen to what you're saying. Like those are red flags.
Right. Yes.
Those are red
Absolutely.
flags. And then not only that, but going and reading reviews about women who have actually delivered with these doctors and
Right.
and erase everything that you already knew about the doctor out of your head because giving birth with a doctor is a completely different world than
Right.
getting a pap smear every year with a doctor.
Right. And to your point, I always say to people that because people think that their GYN is going to transfer over into an OB very well, but someone that maintains the health of your vagina is very different than someone you want as an OB. And so, to your point, I couldn't have said it any better. That when you are a birthing person, your agenda, your ideas, your concerns are much more involved than just going in for a pap smear, right? So you have very clear ideas about what you're looking for your labor. I want a medicated birth, or I do want a medicated birth, or I want no intervention. And so these are conversations that you need to have, and just realizing it. And that's one of the, oh my gosh, if we could put that on a T-shirt, like your GYN does not transfer over to your OB. Like
Yes.
that's what I would want to put on the shirt and just walk around wearing it. Because again, to your point, trying to find a provider before you are pregnant, number one, paramount. But number two, just realizing that this is not something that you should take lightly and just transfer over the care from
Yeah.
your GYN. And the other thing I want to say is that when people are like what you just said, Shannon, like, yeah, oh, okay, kind of brushing you off. I think a lot of times people get stuck in that space where they put off the questions till the end, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you pee on a stick and you realize that you're pregnant, go right in and start having these conversations immediately. Because what happens, Shannon, at
Right.
37 weeks, we get so many inquiries, right? I'm
Yeah.
going to give birth in a week. I need help, right? And so, as much as we can provide help to you, the help starts when you first get pregnant and you decide on a provider. Because at
Yeah.
37 weeks, there's very little that your doula can do in terms of education, in terms of advocacy, in terms of support, and giving you vital information at 37 weeks. So we want to see people earlier so that we can help you kind of navigate what type of care you want so that when you're at 37 weeks, you're just like, I'm just waiting to have a baby. And
Yeah.
that's it, right?
Right.
We're not trying to fight the whole system at 37 weeks. Because I want to tell you this now. And I will say this time and time again. The system is broken and it's not going to get fixed by the time you have your baby. So
Yeah.
we need to figure out what will work for you ahead of time so that we can make sure that even in this broken system that you can have a good experience, or at least a experience that you feel content about, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And
absolutely.
like the worst thing for me is, as a doula, guiding your client, giving them all the information that they need, discussing with them, because I discuss with my clients after their prenatal visits, like how their visit went. And then
Right.
we like talk about something that their physician said, and we're like, oh, okay, that like my client will be upset at what her physician said, and we'll read it as a sign. But then she's just like, oh, well, I'm just so comfortable here.
I know
And
what you're gonna
then
say.
we get to the birth. And then we get to the birth and it's a shit show. And then they're like, regret.
Right.
And I can't
Right.
believe this happened to me. And what
Absolutely.
could I have done? Or
Mm.
they turn to me and say, you were right. I should have
Right.
listened.
Right.
And as much as I love being right,
Right.
I don't want to hear that, because I
No.
want you to have a I want you to have a birth experience that's going to encourage you to feel empowered. And then not only that, that's going to not make you fear having another baby. You
Right.
should
Right.
never, ever come out of a birth feeling like, I don't know if I ever want to do this again. That's
Right.
not something I want to happen to you.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I just can't stress enough, ladies out there, that you really get your care team together. And yeah, that includes getting a doula,
Right. Or maybe
to
that is
help you
getting a
navigate.
doula first,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because the
Sometimes
doula could help you find
a
the
provider,
care
yes.
team.
And
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
something that we specialize in. We have a working relationship with a vast amount of physicians, of care
Yeah.
providers, midwives and doctors, OBGYNs, chiropractors, little things that you feel that you think are normal pregnancy things in your body that could be warning signs that you need a realignment, or that baby is not getting into the right position. That's what your doula is for, to refer you
Yeah.
to these people that you need to be at, and to tell you what these different signs that your body is giving you, what they mean.
Yeah.
We're here as little walking encyclopedias and navigators to help you navigate this experience. Tia, what would you say is another thing that people should really consider when they're looking for a care provider?
I would definitely sit down and write down your ideas and your thoughts around birth, right? Because I think that's one of the things that comes up is that if I'm expecting to have an unmedicated, no intervention birth, should I be with an OB? And especially with an OB that has a track record of being in a hospital setting, and so just is normalizing a lot of these interventions that come along. So you need to sit down first and think about what your goals are for your birth, right? And whether these goals come together or not, it's not important. What's important is the process of thinking about what's important to you, right? And so that you can then move on and find someone that lines up with what your expectations and your thoughts are. So I think that's one of the things that I often tell people is like, what are you looking for? And if you know what you're looking for, then when you don't find it, you could say, oh, this is not it. I need to
Right,
check something else out because this isn't it. And the analogy I usually give is like, think about sushi, right? And not everyone eats sushi, but think about your favorite food, whether it's sushi or it's, some really great Italian food, or it could even be some Caribbean food, some rice and peas, right? If Burger King decided that they were going to carry that, Burger King said, we are going to make sushi, right?
no, no, no,
Would you
Burger King.
would you go to Burger King to get sushi? Absolutely not. Because it probably wouldn't even taste good, right? I wouldn't even try it. Like sometimes when, these kind of places, they like, oh, we're gonna bring out this and you try it. But sushi just sounds wrong at Burger King because
Right.
Burger King doesn't even make fish, right? They don't make sushi at all. So I think that sometimes what we're doing is we're going to Burger King for sushi when we're giving birth. And that's when that moment happens where you look at Shannon or you look at Tia and you're like, I should have listened to you, right?
Right.
And to Shannon's point, and that moment, it's the saddest I told you so we ever experienced, and we don't want to hear that. So we want you to be able to get sushi at the best sushi place ever. And how do you do that? You read the reviews. We'll read a review about a comforter off of Amazon, but we won't read a review about our providers. And
Uh-huh.
so literally, like Shannon said, taking time to do some research, read reviews, and also leaving reviews too. Like that's another topic which we'll get to
Yeah.
down the road. But oftentimes, like leave a review so somebody else can come in and say, "Oh, I see that review. That's obviously not someone that lines up with me." And everybody is not, the other thing that we want to say and we want to make clear is that we don't think that all of these providers are out to get you. We just think that they just are providing a very specific way. And just like you hire us because you feel connected to us, I think that the same goes for your OBGYN provider as well. So I think you need to think about that as well, because I feel like everybody wants to feel connected and this really spiritual connection with their doula, but they just give over the power to their providers. And I think that
Right.
that's important as well, is to feel like, okay, this doesn't feel right. And so your intuition or your gut is something that you really need to tap into as well when you're trying to find a provider. If this doesn't feel right, then it probably isn't right. And so,
Right.
yeah, I think that writing down some goals and being clear about what your expectations are very important. Yeah.
Right. And I want to circle back around to doulas, to using your doula and listening to your doula, because I just, what I like to say
I
is,
get a soul clap.
right. What I like to say is I just really want for families to recognize that there is absolutely nothing that I gain as a doula from giving you bad information or from steering you to one particular provider over the other. I work with all of them.
Yeah.
I work with all of them. I'm still going to work with you. You know, and me giving you bad information is bad for me.
Right.
Makes the birth worse for both of us, for all of us involved, and makes me look bad as a doula because then you have a bad experience.
Right.
So, I can't stress enough how important it is to listen to your doula. Like that's what you paid for, that's what you hired her or him for. And we're there to help you. We are not there to steer you wrong. So if you hire a doula, you really need to listen. I'm not gonna like make you choose one thing or over another because that's not what doulas do. But we give you the information that you need, and then
Yes.
you then with you reading that information, with you listening to that information, then you should, just like Tia said, have that gut feeling like, ooh, maybe I don't want to be in this situation, and then listen to that. Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, I can't stress it enough. When I think back over the 100, like 20 clients that I've worked with or families that I've worked with, um, them not listening has never ended well. It's never gone well for them. And, I
It's
don't know how
never
much,
going well for them.
it's never gone well for them. I'm not
No,
lying to you.
no. I just want to say, like, let me just step in here. I just, this is the thing I feel like as an experienced doula, because we both have well over 100 births each, right? So one of the things that comes up for us is that there is going to be a point in time where you're going to be like, I really should have listened to you. Um, and what is better for just everyone involved, and specifically, obviously, you as a client, is that the information that we are providing is paramount to your care. And we're not, and the other thing is that your doula is providing information that lines up with your expectations because we've built a relationship with you. So we're clear about what you want, right? And so at 37 weeks or at 40 weeks, when your provider is giving you some information about changing the whole trajectory of your care, we're like, but we've already established this. And so we're clear about what the expectations are around that. And so it's important for you to continue to listen to us. And I'm always like, and as doulas, it's very frustrating when people hire us to be support to them, but then they don't listen to us, right?
Mm.
I think like as a doula with more than 100 births at this time, I would rather you work with someone else. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I mean, we're being very frank here. Like, this is two experienced doulas letting it all hang out so that you guys could really have the kind of birth and the kind of care that you need for your birth. And so I just feel like, yes, I don't want you to pay me and then not listen to me, because I really am going to be disappointed. No, I'm not going to be so disappointed because I already, and the other thing is like, we know what's going to happen. We see it
Right.
coming a mile away because we've done this over and over again. And it's not like this situation is going to be different, right? It's going to be like,
Right.
okay, well, my provider said that, this is going to happen and then that's going to happen. And then we're looking at you like, that's not true, because we know what's going to happen because we've worked with
Right.
that provider. We've worked at that particular birthing location. We've worked with that particular doctor or that midwife. So we're just really clear about what's going to happen. And
Right.
so we want you to have a better experience in this broken system, which happens, right? Because as doulas, we've seen people have really great, amazing experiences. Um, and so, yeah,
Yeah.
I have to back you up on that one.
And that just is a reminder that the interview process with your doula is not just for you, it's for your doula too. Because
Absolutely.
believe me, I have turned tail when I know I'm not going to work well with a client.
Girl,
Doula,
girl,
this
yeah,
one's for you too. Read the signs, because
absolutely.
there's nothing you will gain by going against your red flag radar and working with a client that you should not have been working with. Every
Absolutely.
client is not for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that's for the tip for the doulas. Every client is not for you. So what's another thing that we could probably talk about when you're trying to find good care?
Hmm.
What's another thing you would suggest, Shannon?
So, one thing that I really emphasize to my clients is to also look at the hospitals that they're working out of,
Mm,
because to some degree, the hospital can kind of um, cinch or open up the possibilities to your birth experience. Okay.
yeah.
So, like, if you envision yourself birthing in a birthing pool and the hospital doesn't do that, then that's not the hospital for you.
Uh, yeah.
Or I always say a hospital that does not allow midwives is a red flag hospital.
Mm,
We have two hospitals in the Montgomery County area that does not allow midwives, two very busy hospitals, I would say. And because of their reputation of being great in the past, um, people tend to go there regardless of the terrible things they're hearing from the parenting community about birth experiences. Okay.
mm,
They tend
mm-hmm.
to go there anyway.
Right.
So I'm like, read the signs, people. You have
Right.
reviews that are telling you to run. we got, I'm telling you, like, if they're not allowing midwives in, you need to run.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And not only that, but you're sitting waiting to even be triaged for hours and you're not running. We got a
Mm,
problem here. Run,
absolutely.
run, do
Right.
not walk.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, some women who have, I can think of this one, like 2 winters ago, this one couple, they went to one of these hospitals and they were like, oh my gosh, these people are so crappy and I haven't even been checked in yet. And they got on the phone with their insurance provider and they got transferred. Like they were like, look, we want to go to another hospital. They told them, yes, you can go to this other hospital. And they went and they had a wonderful birth experience.
That's what I'm
They
talking
had a
about.
wonderful birth experience. And
Yeah.
so that leads me to, it's not really ever too late. I mean,
Mm,
until you are like in your labor and delivery room, like you could be on your way to the hospital and be like, nope, I don't feel good about it. Let me go to another hospital. You can do
right.
that.
Yeah.
We have one hospital in DC that is so wonderful that people literally like they're waitlisted and like trying to get into this one practice. And then you have some of them don't make it in and they just show up to the hospital and have their baby because they're like, y'all can't turn me away.
Right, right,
I'm gonna
right.
wait till I'm crowning and I'm gonna get in there.
That's
So,
funny. Yeah.
you really gotta also look at the hospitals you're delivering
Yeah.
at.
I think that is so important.
Yeah,
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 that is key. And so we talked about hiring a doula. We talked about the practice. We talked about finding a good care provider. And I also want to say, like, when we're looking at the hospital, look at the hospital in totality. So again, their cesarean rates, right? Your doctor's cesarean rates as well. And so those are two things I think that is really important, and the vaginal births and live births too. We should also be asking about that. I know that's like a scary topic and people don't always want to talk about it, but we should talk about all of those things because that also attributes to like the mortality and the morbidity rates of people that are birthing. And so I think that we should look at all of those things too. And so, yeah, I think that was, those are some really great tips when you're looking to find really great prenatal care, so that you can have a better experience when you're giving birth. And to Shannon's point, and not be scared to give birth again. I have ran into so many people that are really nervous about giving birth again because of an experience that they had in their first birth. And so that we do not want people to be afraid to give birth. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. So, before we go and move on and sign off, I just want to remind you guys that both Tia and I are doulas. We both do virtual births in this wonderful land of COVID-19.
Exactly.
And we also both do, birth consultations online. So even if you're not like sure, I know for me, even if you're not sure that you want to hire a doula and you just kind of want to sit down and talk, we do like thorough birth consultations and charge
Yeah.
you that, and it can be subtracted from your total doula package fee. Um, because really we want you guys to have the information out there that you need. Um, and so no matter where you are listening to this, you can, contact us. Tia, what's your best way of contact?
I,
We'll
I'm,
put it in the
I'm
comments too.
yeah, I'm Me Too Doula everywhere. So I'm Me Too Doula on Instagram. I'm Me Too Doula on Twitter. Me Too Doula on Facebook. And my website is metoodoula.com. And yeah, that's how you find me. And if you want to send me an email, we're gonna make an email account for our podcast. But if you want to email me, you can at metoodoula@gmail.com.
Yeah, and that's with two O's for
Yes.
Tia. Me too, doula.
Yes.
Like, yeah, me also.
Right.
um, and I'm pretty easy to find. I'm Shannon your doula on Instagram, on Facebook, and also on my website, Shannon your doula. But then for my email address, I'm Shannon Serrano. If you could see my name on the screen down there on my box, Shannon Serrano at live.com. So think live birth. And that's my email address. And you could also actually find me at shannonserrano.com. But yeah, we're both pretty easy to find. And we look forward to connecting with you and to you guys tuning in next week when we meet again on Wednesday, 9-ish or 9-ish, 9:30-ish again. To have another chat with you guys. We're not sure what we're going to talk about next week, but we know that it will be worth your while. So we
It
hope
sure will be.
that you tune in.
Yes.
All right.
Take care, guys. Have a
Take
great week.
care. Bye, guys. All right.